notifications go out, I got a real quick message. Okay, real quick message, and I'm going to give y'all the backstory because it's very, very important to know how to identify a monitoring spirit so that you do not blab all your mind. All right, remember, God says that only a fool uttereth all his mind, right? Okay, he said, but a wise man keepeth it in till afterwards. So, as we continue in the spiritual awakening, chosen ones, you are going to encounter monitoring spirits because the devil is not omnipresent. So he has minions known as narcissist. If it's a monitoring spirit, it is a narcissist. And I'm going to give y'all some real, very real pointers here because it's in how they look at you. It's not just in their energy, but it's in the way that they look at you, especially the Jezebels. We talked about the evil eye and then that sideways glance, and I've got an analogy for you, all right, to help you understand the importance, okay, of being able to discern, all right, to be able to tell if there are a monitoring spirit because they can be strangers. Never forget that monitoring spirit can be strangers, people you have never seen before. And it's in how they look at you. And don't forget, part of that is them trying to project. Okay, so while those notifications go out, let me go ahead and do a quick check on the other device real quick to make sure everything is up and running as it should be, so that, yeah. Notifications go out, let me go ahead and, all right, I've got the chat up on the other device to keep up with that. If y'all have any additional insights, I highly encourage y'all. We are iron sharpening iron in this growing community of spiritual warriors for Christ at Consulting for Heightened Awareness. And it's very important to understand how to identify monitoring spirits. And so, as I was alluding to just a bit ago, that it's in how they look at you and also how they treat you. And when we say how they treat you, they don't even have to speak to you. It's in their body language. It's in their demeanor. You can sense the demonic spirit. You can sense it. Chosen one, like I've said before, you will always be able to read spiritual energy. And I'm going to tell you, during this transition from Florida to Texas, I have to tell you, this is part 2, and this second time going through, or well, I should say 4th time actually of going through Louisiana, there's a couple of places in Louisiana where the demonic is, wow. I mean, it is just through the roof, it seems like. I'm going to tell you, there's a place called Lobdell, Lobdell, the spiritual energy there, very demonic. And then there's I don't think all of Lafayette would be, but where I stayed at in Lafayette, Louisiana, for one night, oh yeah, the demonic, because that was when I got a sense of like 5 different monitoring spirits, boom, 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 as I was checking into the hotel. And that's why I wanted to get up here and share this with y'all, because it's so important to be able to pick up on those. And I was able to pick up on them left and, quick. And so I knew that once I got my stuff into that hotel room, I had to hunker down. Not out of fear or walking on eggshells, but just stay out of sight, out of mind. Because we do know some hotels have 2-way mirrors, and we have figured out how to cover those up, okay? And if you don't have poster boards, but you've got a pack of printer paper and some tape, that'll work just fine. Because when you do that, you take away the matrix's ability to look at your eyes, to look at your neck, to look for any kind of physical vulnerabilities that they might be able to capitalize on. Because one of the things I've learned since the Jezebel case study did what she did, and we've been healing from that physical assault, now we're just in muscle recovery season, okay? We've been rebuilding, and the muscles that we're building, they need to recover. So we are in recovering season from all of that. A lot of the bruises have healed. There's some residual skin discoloration from where the bruises used to be. And so it makes it look like the bruises are still there, but I'm telling you they're not. But the devil can't see on the inside. All he can see is what's in the physical on the outside. And so if these monitoring spirits, they pick up on something that they perceive as a physical vulnerability, then that narcissist will they will go into assignment mode and make all kinds of noise trying to stress out the vagus nerve. Because I'm going to tell y'all, like we talk a lot about in the ministry, is that when you stress out that vagus nerve, you stress out the entire body. And stressing out that vagus nerve slows down your body's elimination of toxins. Go figure. So when you understand how to identify these monitoring spirits, it makes it easier for you to maneuver through the narcissistic matrix, right? And to navigate it easier. You don't have to walk on eggshells. You ain't got to be afraid of them, because they're not going to do nothing directly. No. Okay, they're just going, because you got to remember, they're human hosts. A lot of them do not even know. Okay, they do not even know that they are doing the bidding of the devil. They don't have a clue that they're looking at you the way they're looking at you. And they don't, even if they did know they were looking at you like that, they don't know why. Because the demon spirits have control of their mind. And it's the demon spirit that need to report back to the devil in the spiritual realm what they see, because the devil is not omnipresent like God. God is the only omnipresent spirit there is. This is why the devil had to have narcissists, because he's not omnipresent. All right, so I'm just going to give you 3, okay, right here in this short message. Okay, one of the top ways for identifying the monitoring spirit is, like I said, how they look at you. Okay? Because this is what they did. Okay? Walking by, right? Just walking by me as I'm going in the hotel and he's walking the other way. It's a specific sideways glance or stare, if you will. It's not the evil eye, but it's very distinct. It's not normal. It kind of reminds me of that dog that isn't quite sure about you, and they looking at you from the side eye. So that's what we call the side eye. And you'll be able to pick up on it. You can tell. It's not normal. Chosen ones, we don't do that. We don't look at people with a side eye. Okay? So if you come across somebody and they're looking at you with a side eye, that's a monitoring spirit. Okay? That's demonic. Normal people don't do that. We don't go around looking at people with a side eye. And remember, again, does that human host, did he know he was doing that? Probably not. Remember, Jude 1 verse 4, God tells us there'll be many crept in unawares. They don't even know they're doing it. And they don't even know what they're looking for. But the demon spirits do. Because remember, chosen one, when you have tapped into that peace on the inside from God, you do all you can to protect it. And they can sense that. They can also sense that you're not living in fear. That's one of the things they're trying to sniff out. If they don't sense any fear coming from you, okay, it makes it a lot easier to identify monitoring spirits. So there's number 1, the side eye. All right? They're looking at you with the side eye. It's very distinct. It's not something that you see all day long, every day. But when you go someplace and it's a complete stranger, that's why I tell y'all, be mindful, okay? Monitoring spirit can be strangers. And these were strangers when I was checking into this hotel. There was another older lady who, as I was checking in, she was in and out a couple of times. A busybody. Yes, I spotted it. Narcissist. Absolutely. I could tell by the demeanor. Now, I did what I had to do to cover up the mirror, because it's a two-way mirror. So I took the time and I got it covered up. Then I went and started to get the rest of my stuff out of the car. And so this busybody, she down there underneath the canopy on one side, as I grab a couple more bags and I'm walking back into the hotel. Now, she already seen me once. Y'all got to watch out for this. Is number 2, how you identify a monitoring spirit. Well, I got confirmation that was a two-way mirror, though, too, when she did this. Because I was like, okay. All right, so this is number 2 for identifying a monitoring spirit. I'm walking back to my car. She already seen me a couple times in and out of the hotel, checking in. And she's standing under the canopy. And so I'm walking into the hotel. I walk by, and I hear her say, ma'am. Of course, I turn around, and so I head her way, and she's leaning over and looking real hard at my eyes and my neck. I noticed that. I said, she's looking real hard at my eyes and my neck. And she said, oh, never mind. I thought you were someone else. Yeah, I said, and how, okay, and here's how do you handle that? Okay, that's monitoring spirit, because I covered up the mirror in the hotel room. And so that means the devil couldn't get a good look at my eyes or my neck or see anything. Okay, but at the same time, then she revealed herself as a monitoring spirit in that way. So they come up and they try to get your attention. Then you get close enough to them. They go, oh, never mind. I thought you were someone else. No, they didn't. They knew exactly what they were doing. Okay. Now, does she know why? No. Okay. But that's another one. Okay. So number 1 was if they're looking at you with the side eye, that's a monitoring spirit. Then if they call you over to them and you get close enough and then they say, never mind, I thought you were someone else, watch out for that. Okay, that's a lie. That's a lie. Okay, that's a monitoring spirit. They were just trying to get a read, and they were also trying to get an assessment so that the demon spirit could report back to the devil in the spiritual, how I doing? Yeah, what kind of progress are we making? Because the devil wants to try and slow down our progress. He's targeting our health, right? So he has to look at my eyes. He wants to look at my neck. He wants to look how I'm standing. Got to watch real close how I'm walking. And I'm going to give y'all the third one here. And then I'm going to get to the chat. All right? I told earlier, I said I'm going to give you 3. I highly encourage y'all to write this down. All right? Because we're going to do a brief recap after this third one. All right? Because I had to make several trips to my car, because I had to go up and down a set of stairs to get to the second floor where they put me in my room. And they claimed they didn't have an elevator, but they do. It was all the way toward the other end of the hotel. Yeah. Okay, they have an indoor pool. And I went to go check it out. But the chemicals were, okay, the chemicals were way too much. And I said, I ain't getting in there. I said, I ain't gonna bother. So I got caught up on some online stuff and posted some content across multiple social media platforms, even on Quora. I did a couple of quick posts on Quora for y'all, the devil and narcissism space, and our battling cognitive dissonance space. So I had to make several trips, okay? And so now there's the third monitoring spirit. And she was sitting downstairs. It wasn't really a lobby, but there's a couple of chairs where there's a television there in a lobby, so to speak. No, with the check-in desk. All right, well, there's the television and a couple of chairs, and here she's sitting there. And I noticed her eyes. Okay, there was nothing there, so I knew narcissist all the way. But out of my peripheral, I caught her bending over and then looking real close at how I was walking. That's right, at how I was walking. Because y'all got to understand that Jezebel case study. When she put the things in that she did, yeah, it caused my gluteal area to be a little bit, it got a little out of whack. But, yeah, it's back the way it's supposed to be. And I'm aware of when the radio frequency start to try and tug my left leg a little bit out again. I can feel it. And so I'm like, oh, no, you don't. I'll stop and I'll stretch. because we're still creatine and protein powder and working at rebuilding and recovering there and our muscles. And see, because if your glutes are not working properly, you ain't gonna walk right. And so that's what she was looking at. And I mean, she was looking real hard because I'm walking much better than I have in a long time. And so, because I'm not waddling anymore, I'm not anything. It's like things are ironing back out, getting to the way they're supposed to be, the way God created this body to be. So she was looking real close. And so I said, okay. So you can watch out for that. If they are watching anything about you that closely, that's a monitoring spirit. So there's number 3. Because there is no reason for when I'm walking by where she's sitting and she's going to go out of her way to bend over and make, I'm right out of my peripheral and there she is just looking real hard at my butt, wanting to see how I'm walking. I said, I know exactly what the devil up to. I see it. I said, I see what you're trying to do. And then they're making a bunch of noise towards the evening. But see, the devil's stupid, y'all, because it's like the devil forget. But no, it's because they don't listen. Whenever they start to get rambunctious and stuff like that, yours surely, I take my hearing aids out because I don't have to have my hearing aids in to do my work. So the joke is on them. They can make all the noise they want to, trying to stress out my vagus nerve, but it ain't going to work. Ain't going to work. All right, my inner child is coming around nicely. But there's those 3, okay? All right, again, quick recap. Y'all write this down, save it, journal it, okay? For how to identify a monitoring spirit. Number 1, if they're looking at you with the side eye. It's not the evil eye, but a side eye. I mean, the evil eye, yes, that's definitely a Jezebel, but I'm talking about a monitoring spirit, the side eye. Okay, watch out for that. Then number 2, if they call you over, they get your attention and then say, never mind, I thought you were someone else. If they say that, that's a monitoring spirit. There's number 2. And then number 3, okay, if they looking at anything about you in the physical, okay, if they looking at you real hard, a certain area of your body, like how you walking, how you moving, if they're looking at your posture, if they're looking at anything that hard, that's a monitoring spirit. Because they got to report back to the devil and the spiritual how you doing health-wise. Because if you ain't walking right, if your posture ain't right, that means you ain't circulating right. That means that the nutrients and stuff from the food you eat might not be getting where they need to get. The devil's looking for you to be limping. He's looking for you to be walking, waddling. He's looking for something to be off. Okay? Because that's what he wants to see as a vulnerability. And so the monitoring spirit, if they can't see any vulnerability, then they're done. There's nothing for them to do. That's the point. And so when I identified those monitoring spirits, and those are only 3 out of the 5, okay? Because the other 2 did some similar stuff that those 3 did, okay? The side eye is one of them. So I was like, oh, okay. I see what you're doing. And at the same time, you know, when I had to get my luggage up the stairs, you know, I did have one offer to help, but I was like, I'm good. I got this. Thank you, because I got to work the muscles. I mean, you can take creatine and protein powder all day long, but you still got to work the muscles. And so we got to watch out for that, chosen one, because that's what they're doing. They're trying to see how you're doing health-wise. Because if they can get any sense of a vulnerability in the physical, that's what they're going to try to go after. And I don't mean physically. They're going to try to do something like cause extra noise to stress out the vagus nerve, which they're going to do anyway. But they'll do something. Okay? And usually it will be try to, like, oh, I don't know, maybe put just charcoal smell in your hotel room, things like that. All right, that's what's going on inside the narcissistic matrix. But if they don't see those vulnerabilities, then there's nothing for them to do. Remember, each monitoring spirit has one simple assignment. They can't handle more than one. All right, the devil gives them one assignment and one assignment only. Okay, and that's it. So there's your top 3 identifiers for monitoring spirit. Hello, everybody. Okay, Okay, a few of those monitoring spirits in your neck of the woods makes you feel uncomfortable living here. Okay, let me tell y'all something. I can relate. When I was staying in the mini electrocution chamber, there were at least 5. Okay, there were 5 monitoring spirit in that so-called apartment complex. It's still a hotel room. I don't care how many times you renovate that thing. It's still a daggone hotel room. You just get to put your own furniture in it. Anyhow, that being said, there was at least 5, so I know what you're talking about. And the best thing to do when you have to kind of like, make ends meet and just, be patient. God will deliver you from that when the time is right. He needs you to learn how to deal with them. And I can tell you that right now. That's what the Lord just told me, Chris. He said, you got to learn how to deal with them by not dealing with them and learning how to not let them make you feel uncomfortable. That's what God just told me. He said, oh, you just admit, he said, God says, he goes, you got to learn how to not be uncomfortable around them because they can sense that. That's one of the spiritual energies that they will pick up on real quick. If they know, because they can tell if you are not comfortable. You got to remember that. Us being comfortable in our own skin is also very spiritual, and they will pick up on that. Thank y'all for hitting the thumbs up. Okay, so for any of you who may be in the same predicament, you're welcome. Okay, right? Don't rise to it and don't react to them. That's the start right there. And all I can tell you is talk to God. Okay, and we're going to pray for you to overcome that uncomfortable feeling because they are sensing it. So when they sense that you are uncomfortable around them, that's when they're going to ramp up some stuff because they love that. Because if they can make you feel uncomfortable in your own skin, it makes them think they're winning. So you got to overcome that. It's another type of trigger, and it is the spiritual energy. They can pick up on that. Just like they can pick up on whether or not you are living in fear. That's one of the first things. And so those monitoring spirits that came across my path yesterday, okay, y'all, they didn't get nothing from me. They did. And one that walked by me with the side eye wasn't but 2 feet away from me. They didn't do nothing. No, I don't get uncomfortable at all anymore. I can relate because I did it first. Okay, when I first started noticing monitoring spirits, of course it did, because we have to overcome that. So when God had not delivered you from something yet, that's why he needs you to overcome. He needs you to overcome them making you feel uncomfortable because you're going to get out and about and you're going to run into them just like I did yesterday. Okay, checking into that hotel. That's another, God had to get you ready for that. So that, because if that had been, if you are checking into a hotel and a monitoring spirit still makes you feel uncomfortable, well, now you're going to get a stalker. Okay? That's what happened to me in a grocery store. This one dude, I was like, man, I had to overcome it. I had to overcome them making me uncomfortable because that's why he kept showing up in every friggin' aisle. He liked that. He liked to sense that uncomfortable feeling. He liked it. They feed off of that. And so I knew I got to overcome this. I was like, man. And then the narcissist and the monitoring spirit try to play it off like, we got to quit meeting like this. I said, oh, yeah. So that's it right there, y'all. If you are still having issues and the monitoring spirits are making you feel uncomfortable, you got to overcome that. Because when God sends us back out as sheep in the midst of wolves, remember, he said he's going to do it. And that's what happened. And yours truly, I've been back out as sheep in the midst of wolves, and this is what it looked like. And so I was able to pick up on those monitoring spirits, but they don't make me feel uncomfortable anymore. Okay? So that's it right there. God will deliver you, but you got to overcome that. And it will happen naturally when you become aware of the fact that that's what God's waiting on. He's waiting on you to overcome that. Now, there may be some other things, too, as to why he's not delivered you from that. But I can tell you that's one of them right there. So thank you for sharing that. I'm glad I was able to get on here. And yeah, you're very welcome. Yep. And it says you can't work out what in the hell their major malfunction and what do they want. Okay. Well, the tip that I gave you, monitoring spirits typically are sent across our path to check us out physically, to see how we're doing health-wise. That is their main objective. Okay? So I'm answering your question. That's all it is. That's going to help you overcome them making you feel uncomfortable. That's what they're looking at. They're checking out your physique. They're checking out your looks. They're checking out your health stat. They're trying to get a read on your emotions also, but they're checking out anything in the physical that might be healing. Okay, they are like the reporters for the devil in the spiritual. Okay, because remember, the devil targets our health. And so they're looking at your eyes. That's what they're doing. They're taking an assessment of your physical health. All right, they're trying to get a read on that. That's what they're up to, and that's it. That's it. Okay, so that's for all y'all right there. If the monitoring spirits are still making you feel uncomfortable, write that down. Okay, the only thing that they are trying to do is get a read on your emotion, but they're also trying to get an assessment on your physical health. That's what they're trying to do. That's it. That's it. And to report back to the devil if you've got anything going on. Okay, that's all they're doing. And so if they can sense that they're making you uncomfortable, though, that's when they'll start to pull some goofy shenanigans. Okay? So keep that in mind. Do you say to that woman, what you're looking at? No. No. You don't say nothing to them. Because remember, they're crept and unawares. A lot of them don't even know they are monitoring spirit. They don't even know they are narcissists. They don't know. They don't know why they're doing it. I'm telling you. Okay, so no, don't say nothing to them. I mean, when that monitoring spirit just be looking at you like that, looking real hard at how you walk in or something else in your physical, just remind yourself. Remember, that's all they do, and they trying to see if there's something that they can report back to the devil that ain't so kosher for you. Okay, that's all. That's all. Because it gives the illusion of pain and suffering. If they can get a vulnerability in your physical health, if they can spot that, they derive pleasure from that. All right, so there you go, and that's what you got to watch out for. And so, don't they have to sort that stuff out? Yeah, they do, but we don't even. Yeah, hotel managers. Yes. Okay, be careful what you say, and just saying, okay, that's it right there. Okay, yeah, all right, so there you go. All right, everybody, that wraps up this brief message here. We ended up getting on here for about a half hour, but I wanted to give y'all that on how to identify monitoring spirits. And then now for a lot of y'all, you just got to work at overcoming them, okay, making you feel uncomfortable. That's what God's waiting on. And y'all know I can't control outside noises. I'm in a different hotel, and I don't have any control over outside noises. This hotel happens to be next to some sort of, that happened to be a lawnmower. Of course, yours truly is up here on a live stream giving you some tips on how to identify a monitoring spirit, and they all of a sudden decide that they want to come mow the grass on this side of the hotel. That's not a coincidence. Another monitoring spirit. Go figure. So, keep that in mind. And there you go. Don't hesitate to drop further insight and other things in the comment below on the replay. All right, y'all? There you go. Yep, the ubiquitous sound intrusion, as always. Oh, that's the devil at work. It's like they couldn't have done that this morning. Okay. Sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your continued support. Till next time, we'll show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father, and you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen. And watch them go.